there was a play early on in practice that was by far the best thing I saw today. And it was honestly, from a vantage point, that was limited because they kind of cut the field in half, and where we were standing, we couldn't really see because there's too many Chicago Bears in the way. So I could see that number 18 was throwing the ball, and I could see he was throwing it to the right in the general direction of Tyler Scott. And what I couldn't see until the last second was number 9, Jaquan Brisker, coming straight downhill like a freight train, breaking on this football and breaking it up for PBU right away to start off the day. Incredible speed, incredible instincts, and just a tone setter for the start of training camp. I love seeing that from Jaquan Brisker, who, you know, I like a lot of young guys on this team can really, if they stay healthy, take big steps forward this season.
He had the what do they call this? The no-fly zone, the birds.
The no-fly zone thing.
No-fly zone.
Yeah. So that, but you know, they do that a lot. Hopefully they keep doing it, whether you like it or not. The more they do it, that means the more plays the defense is making, especially in the secondary. Meanwhile, my worst, just 3 guys coming out of camp or coming out of the offseason a little banged up. Not the end of the world. I mean, I don't think there was many bad things to choose from today. But I'll just go with the injury updates because I was like, Larry Borum's in at left tackle a lot. Where'd Braxton Jones go? What's going on here? Well, it turns out he's going to be limited a little bit because of something that happened in training, but you know, he is out there practicing still. Same thing with TJ Edwards, who we talked to yesterday. So none of this stuff seems like a big deal. And we know already from this is now year 3 of a Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles camp. They like to ramp guys up. So they're always going to be a little careful. And then if anything, the Gerald Everett thing, again, training issue. They were aware of it, according to Matt Eberflus. It would have been nice if they mentioned it off the top yesterday, but it was good to see him out there on the bike today in person. So he's around, not a major deal. Doesn't sound like it. So while these aren't the worst injury updates of all time, they are nonetheless not good things. And on a list of, in a day where there weren't many bad things, I guess that still qualifies as my worst.
I'll jump in here, Adam, for my best and worst. And you hijacked the Brisker play. So I had a different vantage point. So I was able to see him come downhill, make that pass breakup on Tyler Scott, which was great. But I'm going to go the best with just seeing Nate Davis, number 64, out there at right guard for all those first team reps. He was from start to finish in practice. Didn't look limited by any means. So that was nice to see Nate Davis at least starting off training camp on the right spot, right? Being able to just be on the practice field. One of the things that Nate Davis couldn't really say for himself last year, he started off right by actually being out there with the first team. So that was my best. My worst, though, comes in the situational team period that the Bears had towards the end of practice. It starts with Caleb Williams throwing the pass that gets deflected by Gervon Dexter. He catches his own pass, and then he ends up running out of bounds and gaining a few yards on the play. But the very next play was an incomplete pass intended for Tyler Scott. Tyler kept running. Caleb threw the ball in one spot, and Tyler just kept on running. And then Caleb hunches over, like, what's going on here? There's a miscommunication there on that play. And then the third one was a high pass to Steven Carlson towards the right sideline. Wasn't close to being completed. So in this situational team period where I think there's a little over a minute on the clock, they started around the 35-yard line. Bears gained the only yards that the first team actually gains was off that pass that Caleb Williams caught himself going to the right sideline. So that's going to be my worst from the offensive standpoint. They couldn't really move the ball in that situational period.
2 quick clarifications, though, because I think you might have missed the first play, which was when he hit Keenan Allen over the middle on a sidearm throw and actually moved the change on the first play of that sequence.
You're right.
But the next 3, you're right. Yeah. No, I just wanted to clarify. They did actually move the ball on one pass there, and actually it was I ended up asking Keenan Allen about that play a little bit later on in the day, so we can bring that up a little bit later in the show. And then second, it was Tyler Scott. What you're forgetting, though, is that would have been Rome Odunze if Rome Odunze was at practice today, and he would have ran the correct route, caught it, scored a touchdown, and the Bears are going to the Super Bowl. So I just want to spin your worst into the best, which is what we can't forget, is that Rome Odunze is a wide receiver god.
Yeah, and it was a blow to all of us today when we learned that Arome Odunze God wasn't going to be here for personal reasons, but he will be back tomorrow. Hoge, your injury stuff as a worst is appropriate considering it's the left tackle. We can dive into that a little bit further, but let me give you my best, which I thought was actually Keenan Allen at the podium and learning that he spent time with Caleb and they're going over plays, all of that. But what I thought that was really stood out to me was he's much different in the huddle now. He was less. He knows what he's doing. He's taking control. He's got a leadership to him. He's whatever words. It was all positive as far as Caleb calling the plays. And to me, that's a big deal. Is you want eventually Caleb to get there and be reacting and playing football like he knows how. So he's got to get all the fundamental stuff down. It seems like he's moving forward that way. So OTAs were quite productive for Caleb, quite productive for the team. I got a side best also with Gervon Dexter Sr. I mean, everyone's talking about this dude in positive ways. Flus was asked if he, if he batted down Caleb's pass, and he's like, well, I don't know if he hit it with his hands. It might have been his chest because he's so damn ass big. And Montez Sweat was singing his praises because he was doing the defensive end conditioning drills, which are different than the defensive tackle drills. So like there's a level of in shape with Gervon Dexter Sr. that continues to keep me excited about Gervon Dexter Sr. My negative though goes back to, and it's not a huge negative. It's hard to find one today other than, we're nitpicking to find one, but the offense does look, like it's got training wheels on right now. A lot of short passes to the running back, a lot of just easy dump offs. When they do go downfield, it doesn't look great. So totally fine, totally expected, but it does underline as far as like really making plays that impact the game in a large way. It seems like the Bears are a ways from it at this point, which is normal again.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to point out that this was, an extremely short practice. I mean, it was supposed to start at 9:35. We weren't out there until 9:55. So I don't know I'm not sure what happened there, if they just shortened it off the top, but it was over by 11:05. So we're talking about an hour 10 practice. And really, if you think about it, they report yesterday the first team meeting at 2. It's not like they had a major install last night and they're throwing all this, major script at these guys for the first time and asking them to go out there. I mean, today, and Flus even hinted in his press conference, like, this is about learning about our guys. And I think it was probably sort of checking the baseline of what these guys remembered or need to go over from the spring during this, 5 weeks they had off. And so if anybody's asking today, like, oh, did Caleb have a good day or a bad day, or did the offense win or the defense win? I don't really think that today's practice was one of those days where you make definitive statements about that either way.
Agreed. And Nick, I weigh in here on where you're at on it, but to me, it just seemed like, let's get him out there. Let's get him running around. Let's get him throwing some passes. Let's start with the basics. Let's see who's in shape a little bit at least, and not push these guys too hard. It felt very new age NFL as far as the way practices go these days.
Yeah, and I guess you just want to see from an operational standpoint. You obviously what you said, Mark. Keenan Allen was saying that Caleb was able to get out the plays a little bit better now than what he did in OTA. So he got that, getting the ball out quickly. But I guess the passes that he did try to test downfield, both the safeties were making plays on him. Brisker, like the one that Adam talked about, but Elijah Hicks too. There was a pass where Caleb tries to hit DJ Moore in a post route. Elijah Hicks is there. So I don't know if the ball's late or if that's just a great play by the safety, but and when it came to those shorter passes, which is going to be a part of this offense, and even if you look at like what Kansas City does, a lot of they do a lot of short passes. You have to hit on those layup types of plays. So I think just from an operational standpoint, you saw some good things from Caleb, but you do want to see at some point, intermediate, deep, and I think that'll come as training camp goes on.
I need it for my soul. Hoge, you worried about the injuries? You worried about Braxton Jones?
No, because I actually think the Bears have already sort of passed the threshold of concerning offseason injuries, because those are the guys that end up on PUP, and then the team is like wishy-washy about it, not really being clear on what's going on. The fact that Braxton Jones and TJ Edwards, they're out there. They were practicing. They just were limited in team stuff. does not have me worried at all. If anything, it's just sometimes you see what it looks like when a guy's not there. Even like Rome today, missing practice, for a personal reason, and you see Tyler Scott jumping in there. It's like, oh, you're always one guy away from really seeing what your depth looks like. And that is one of my concerns about this offensive line still, is just the depth. And like how quickly on day one, we already have Larry Borom out there. And I've said this about Larry. I think Larry's a solid swing tackle. I don't think he's the best swing tackle you could have in the league, but I think you can definitely go into the season with Larry Borom as the swing tackle. But when it's on day one of camp, it just sort of, even if you're Ryan Poles, I think you go into your post-practice meetings, I think you just sort of got to be like, oh, okay. I want to continue to look at options out there for depth, because all of a sudden in any game, you can have 1 and 2 go out. And now you're like, whoa, now we're totally on the fly. And let's not forget, they've spent this entire offseason trying to build this thing around Caleb Williams and insulate him with not only weapons, but protection. And quite frankly, the protection part of it's probably more important. So that's the only part of it all that gets me jittery. But otherwise, not concerned about these things. Even with Gerald Everett, it was nice to hear Matt Eberflus like come out and be like, nope, something happened while he's training. We knew about it. He's day to day. Fine, we're good.
It was a very good job by the Hoge today in the press room. I thought excellent questions. You got the Gerald Everett in there. It was sort of like we were everything was kind of hunky dory, and then people were having fun, and then Hoge coming off the left side wall with what about Gerald Everett, Flus? And he was like, no, we knew about that. Did you, Nick? Were you with me? Like, Hoge, you changed the tone of the presser today. It was a full tone
I felt that. Yeah, you know how you can feel like how Flus said it was palpable to feel like the competitiveness of you felt it with Hoge's question there, changing the, I don't know, just the atmosphere. But hey, it was a good question. We need to get some clarification. And it sounds like Gerald Everett, like you said, day to day is not too serious a thing. So that's good.
Well, not to get too inside baseball here, but there is a sort of an art to this whole thing. And, I don't remember what the first. Shout out to Flus, by the way. I don't have an opening statement. Then he went on for 3 minutes with an opening statement.
That was unbelievable.
That was great. And it was all good stuff. I mean, it was fun. And then whatever the first question is, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like an extension of yesterday's press conference. And I just had one of those like Adam Hoge moments internally where I was like, whoa. Gerald Everett ended up on NFI, and they didn't say anything about this yesterday. We got to start the press conference with that. Come on. And by the way, the left tackle wasn't in team drills today. Can we get into training camp now? Can we start talking about this stuff that matters? And so I couldn't help myself. So I apologize.
Yeah, I absolutely thought it was phenomenal. I thought you separated yourself, and you actually kind of sort of cut off Courtney Cronin, who in lots of ways leads that room, and you stepped on Courtney, and she allowed it because she respected what you were doing. That was my read of the whole situation. Hoge, good work.
I didn't notice that, so apologies to Courtney.
We all silly like the mayor.